is the sum of the terms in a sequence.
Okay, I found this on the web, Marissa. Check it out.
Because every time I say series, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. Sit in this row behind Jaden. So what does the word sum mean? Total up. What mathematical calculation are you doing? Which one is it? No. Sum means to add. So a series is when you add up all of the terms in a sequence. So regardless of how you get the numbers, you're going to add the numbers up. So for example, here is my sequence. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that arithmetic or geometric? Arithmetic. What's the common difference? 1. It's adding 1 every time. A sequence is just a list. A series is when I do 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 and I get my answer. What is my answer? 10. With a series, when you are finding sum, you're actually going to end up with a single number. Now this one has dot, dot, dot. So that means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. But I would keep adding forever. Am I ever going to end up with a straight number? Nope. I would get infinity, technically. So you can't really add up when your sequence goes on and on and on and on forever. So when we are evaluating a series, or when we're getting our answer, I will specifically tell you how many you're going to add up. Because most of our sequences have the dot, dot, dot. So I will be specific in telling you how many you're going to add together. You're going to see a capital S with a little number. When you see the capital S, that means find the sum, and that number, that N, is the number of terms you're going to be adding together. So if it says S5, you're going to add up the first 5 terms. So for example, here we have number 1. I have the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. My pattern is that I am adding 1 every time. S9 means the sum of the first 9 terms. So we're really going to be calculating 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. Do that in your calculator. Someone tell me what you got. What? 105? 45. Can't hear.
Chelsea Mink to the office for dismissal. Chelsea Mink.
So here we have a sequence. The sum of the first 9 numbers is 45. Does everyone agree? Number 2. This says find the sum of the first 4. Well, you already have the first 4. You don't even have to figure out the pattern. 4 plus 7 plus 13 plus 25. Number 6, and that does not have dot dot dot, but we should assume that pattern is continuing forever. Verse 6. Of what the 6th number might actually be. Anybody see a pattern? It is not 34. This right here, this is plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9. 36. It would be 36. So the next one you would add 11. Your 6th term would be 36. These are also perfect squares. 1 squared, 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5. So the next one would be 6 times 6. So we would add 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 16 plus 25 plus 36. What'd you get? 91? 92. Anybody else get 91? What about number 4? What's the pattern going on here? Anybody know? See a pattern at all? If you ignore this first term, do you see anything? What's happening? The denominator is going up by 1. Technically, this is 1 over 1. Well, it fits in. And we're finding the sum of the first 6. So my 6th term would be 1 over 6. Well, that's going to be a pain to type in your calculator. But do it anyway. How do you do a fraction? Alpha y equals. And you're going to probably get a big ugly fraction. What'd you get? 49 over 20.
My calculator always gives me a decimal.
Did you type them in as fractions?
Yeah.
Okay, it's because people have messed up with the settings. First of all, it's in French. Alright, so typing in all of your terms can take a long time, especially if there's fractions, especially if there's a lot of them. So we're going to use this thing. Now this thing looks really scary. It's not. It's just a notation that can be used in your calculator. Have you seen this letter? This is a letter. This is a Greek letter. Yeah, you've seen it. It's up there. It's sigma. Sigma in math means sum. It's just a way, when you see that, the big E, it just means sum. So here's how it works out. You're going to have something on the bottom. That's your starting term. So you are going to be telling your calculator to add up some numbers, and you're going to tell your calculator where to start adding. For the most part, you're always going to be starting with the first term. Like in all of these, when we started counting, we started with the first one listed. And then at the top is going to be the ending term. It's how many terms that you added up. So if it said find the sum of the first 9, or if it said S9, you would put a 9 at the top. And then over here is your formula. So with arithmetic and geometric sequences, we learn to write a formula for them. You're going to be putting your formula over there. And so we're going to do 2 examples by hand, and then we're going to start typing them in the calculator. But by doing it by hand, I'm showing you all of the work that your calculator is doing behind the scenes. So here on number 5, this is the formula that we have told. N minus 1. Sometimes it'll be N, sometimes it'll be X. Doesn't matter. But N minus 1 is the formula. And it's telling me that I'm adding up the first through the 4th term. So what your calculator is going to do is it's going to plug the numbers 1 through 4 into N and then add all those up. So if N is 1, that means the first term. That's like A1. Your calculator is going to put a 1 here. It's going to do 1 minus 1, which is what? What? 0. So the first term in this sequence is a 0. And then your calculator is going to do N equals 2. That's my second term. So it's going to put a 2 in for N. 2 minus 1, which is 1. And then it's going to do N equals 3. That's the third term. So it's going to do 3 minus 1, which is 2. And it's going to do N equals 4, which is my A4, my 4th term. So it's going to do 4 minus 1. There are 4 terms of this particular list. But because of sigma, it's going to find the sum. So it's going to add all of those numbers together. 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 to get 6. And that's the answer that it's going to give you. So you have to be able to come up with the explicit formula to be able to put it into sigma. Today, you're just going to be practicing this. You don't have to worry about the formula just yet. Okay. So let's do number 6. We're adding up terms 1 through 4, and there's my formula. Okay. So for N equals 1, it's going to be negative 3 times 1, which is what? Negative 3 times 1. Negative 3. So the first term in this list is negative 3. And then it's going to plug in a 2. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then it's going to plug in a 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then it's going to do a 4. Negative 3 times 4, negative 12. And I'm stopping it. This number at the top tells me which term I stop at. So that's why I stopped with n equals 4. And then we're going to add all those up. Negative 30. So, here's how you type that into your calculator. There's actually two options. One option is by hitting math, and then if you scroll all the way down to 0, you see it says summation and it has that sigma. You can also just hit math 0. Okay. That's one option. Or another way to do it is alpha window. Alpha is the green button. Windows up top, and then number 2. So either or. Just kind of get in the habit of doing one or the other. If you can remember it's 0, and you just hit math 0, you only have to hit 2 buttons. But if you don't remember what number it is and you have to scroll a whole bunch, this way would be faster. Doesn't matter. Just 2 ways of getting there. I normally do math 0. Now, we got all these 4 little like dotted boxes. Those are what we have to fill in. So at the bottom, you can fill in whatever letter you want, as long as you use the same letter here as you do in the formula. I always hit this X button that's right beside of alpha because it's just easiest, and it'll use an X. I always use that button. And then it automatically moves your cursor over there, so you can type in a 1. And then you go up. So we're going to do number 8 down here at the bottom. So number is 8. And then I'm going to go in here in the parentheses. And I'm going to type in that fraction. Alpha y equals is a fraction. And I'm going to type in x to the 3rd power over 2. And you should get 648. So if we would have manually done 1 to the 3rd divided by 2, 2 to the 3rd divided by 2, 3 to the 3rd divided by 2, and then I did 8 of those and then added them all up together, or just done it in a calculator. One thing you've got to be careful of is when you do sigma, it will put up the parentheses. You can't ever go outside of those parentheses. I think all of the examples you'll see here kind of have, it's kind of where you wouldn't do that, but you've got to be careful. Don't ever arrow outside of the parentheses and then type something else in outside of them. So let's do number 9. Get your sigma. Sigma, if you see sigma, that just means sum. Sum means add. X equals 1 up to 5. Now notice how in here there's these parentheses on the outside. I've made those a little bigger with my pen. Those are going to be like the parentheses that already show up. But then I've got to type in, I've got to make some extra. 4 minus x, and it's extra parentheses squared. So I never did type anything outside of the parentheses that my calculator started with. And you should get 15. And then number 10, x equals 1 to 6, x squared minus 5. 61. Does anyone need help typing that into the calculator?